Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we are here to talk about the Red Scrolls of Magic. It's the new Cassandra Clare novella about Magnus and Alec. So this book is very cleverly based in the vacation that Alex and Magnus took during City of Fallen Angels, which is in the acknowledgements of this book, which I actually read for once because it's really interesting. So it's a really fun little book. It's not very heavy. It's very action-packed. It's very, very, very wholesome. And I really liked it. Like it was just chill. It's not very big. I have a lot of things to talk about, so let's jump straight into it. I basically flagged this book wherever I was like, and the first time that happened was when Tessa shows up at the very start. Cassandra Clare just has this way of always finding a way to fit Tessa, Will, or Jem into a book somehow. Every single book mentions them in some way or another, and I'm here for it. But it was really nice to see Tessa and Magnus's friendship, and it was just a drawback to, you know, what we read obviously in The Infernal Devices, and us longtime fans really appreciated that. I can only speak for myself, but I'm assuming that I'm not the only person who really appreciated this. Basically, Magnus really wanted this vacation with Alec to be magical and spontaneous and beautiful and romantic and everything that he thought that Alex wanted, basically. But obviously, considering it's the Shadow World, that doesn't happen. There was this rumor that Magnus had founded a cult, and obviously no one who was close to Magnus really believes that, but you can't convince the Clave. This entire book is basically them trying to solve, 1, who actually founded the cult, 2, who the current cult leader is, and 3, how to get rid of the cult. But the only problem is Magnus has lost his memories, so he has no idea about anything, and all that they know is that the cult worships Asmodeus, and that's Magnus's father, so T. So quite early in the book, we meet this warlock chick called Xinyun, and she tells them this entire backstory about how she was in the cult and how she left the cult and how they hurt her and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, all these lies. There is a party in which we meet Raphael, and we see Raphael and Alec kind of interact. We also meet Helen, who is making out with a vampire chick, and we also see a lot of Helen and Aline throughout this entire book and how they kind of met over this vacation, and that's really cool after you've read Dark Art of Vices, the Blackthorns, the one about the Blackthorns. After you finish reading that series, it's very nice to see how Aline and Helen met. You get to see their relationship bloom, which is very cute and exciting and pure, and I love them. Magnus really likes Xinyun. It's all good and well. Everything's fine. Helen and Alec kind of had this little thing in Paris where they help each other out with a demon attack, which is fun. Katrina meets Alec and decides that she likes him, which is very cute. I'm just going through all the tags that I have in this book because that's the most important stuff, and hopefully it'll just tell the story because I'm really bad at telling stories, it seems. I'm just standing here in my room alone like, this book is good. They go to France and then they go to Venice. This is where it gets into the good stuff. We really see Alec and Magnus's love in this book and how they would literally die for each other because they both just talk so highly of each other in each of their point of views in this book. They both are just talking about, oh, I would die for him, like he's the one for me. He thought of Alec, he thought of Magnus, and everything was beautiful, and it's magical, it's great, and it's everything that you would ever want out of a Magnus and Alec novella. And there is a 1 on the spine, so that must mean there's gonna be more. Alec driving was a lot. To read an entire chapter about Alec trying to drive a car caused me more anxiety and stress than it should have. We learn a bit more about Magnus's childhood. We learn a lot about Magnus's childhood. We find out how he found out Asmodeus, how he found out that that was his father, how he realized he was a warlock, how he killed his dad in the same barn that his mum killed herself. Like, we learn so much about Magnus's entire childhood and where he comes from, which we didn't really know that much about. We have the Bane Chronicles, of course, but that only really tells us what Magnus wrote to Alec in Heavenly Fire. So this was really good for insight, and I think that in the future ones of these books we're going to learn a lot more, which is exciting because I love Magnus and I love Alec, and I really, really, really can't wait to see that character development. We learn a bit more about Aline. So in the books about the Blackthorns, all I really knew, maybe I've just forgotten stuff because, you know, these books have been spread over such a long amount of time that you do end up forgetting details, but when you read about stuff, you remember things. When they talk about Aline kissing Jace to figure out her sexuality, that's pretty much all the stuff that I really remembered about Aline, apart from obviously her dating Helen and going to the island with her in the book about the Blackthorns. We get to see more of her wit and her character and her strength, which was really great to see, considering I didn't really know much about her, so it was really nice to see like who Helen is in love with. But to see the sexual tension between Aline and Helen during this book, it made me laugh a lot. Like it was great. Leon had me cracking up. Whoa, son, hi. So Leon would say stuff like, Helen says, Leon, are you making a pass? Why do you always do this? Stop hitting on people, Leon. And Leon replies with, but life is short and I am handsome in French. Then we find out at the end of the book that Xin Yun was the bad guy, and Xin Yun has been traveling with them for this much of the book, and we find out that she's evil with only this much to go. So you can imagine the emotions that I was feeling at this point. I was a little worried. We also find out that Xin Yun is, for some reason, under the impression that Asmodeus is her father, but her adopted father, but she doesn't know that Magnus is Asmodeus's real son. So there's a lot of miscommunication going on. So it gets to a point where Xin Yun wants to sacrifice Magnus to Asmodeus as a immortal vessel so that Asmodeus can enter the human world into Magnus's body and be a greater demon prince in the mundane world. Does that make sense? This is where the shit all kind of goes down, and Magnus is about to die, and he thinks he is dying, and he remembers Will and Katrina and Ragnar, and, you know, like I said, Will, he brings up Will again, which... So the entire this much of the book is basically Alec and Magnus just fighting for each other, having really cute moments, Xin Yun being brought to justice, being let go by Alec because he is honorable as hell. That's the book. But the epilogue of this book is them going back to Magnus's apartment, doing the deed for the first time, which is... and taking mock-up photos of their vacation to show everyone back at the New York Institute in front of a green screen that Magnus made so that they could trick people and not talk about the Crimson Hand to anyone because no one needs to know about that. And that is the experience that you will go through if you and when you read this book. It is very good, it's very short, it's very relaxed, still action-packed, still full of love, still full of information, but it's very light. Weirdly enough, it's a really great addition to the story, and it's not out of place with, you know, Cassandra Clare just coming up with content now because there's so many books in this universe, and it's kind of getting to a point for me where she needs to not release so many books, but, you know, there are a lot of things that still haven't been told. For example, why Magnus and Alec went in their vacation, and now that story has been told, so I'm really happy with how she did that and how it's actually a story and how it all fits. Yeah, I'm a big fan of this book. I hope you liked this video. If you did, thank you. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you in my next video.